There he is, a poor, lifeless young shark, scrolling on social media. And yes, sharks do use the internet. Unprotected from the dangers, he roams the web's waters alone and vulnerable. But what's this? The shark appears to be downloading some software. It's Surfshark! Now look at him go! He's able to access content from different countries. He's free from the dangers of public Wi-Fi. He's free from price discrimination. He gets 24/7 customer service. He can use the same account across as many devices as he wants. But most importantly, he stays protected because Surfshark encrypts his internet activity, blocking ads and malware that get in his way. The good baddies are on their way. And because this shark watches TDK, he used code TDK and got 4 months extra free. Now he's surfing those waves with ease because, again, and I cannot stress this enough, sharks use the internet. Look it up. Thank you, Surfshark, for sponsoring The Different Knock over the summer. Welcome back to Mikel Merino. There we knock. Mikel Merino is signing for Arsenal. I've had romantic relationships, haircut phases, and fixed addresses for less time than this has dragged on for, but it's finally happened, and he's set to sign a 4-year deal at the club with an option of an extra year for around £28.4 million plus £4.2 million in add-ons, according to my mate, David Ornstein. If you're asking, I think those numbers are fine. They're not a steal, they're not an overpay, it's fine. Hopefully, Merino will be available to take some sort of part in the game against Brighton at the weekend, although Mikel is always cautious about bedding players into the team. As I said in my initial video about Merino, this isn't some dream signing for me, and I'm not going to pretend that it is for YouTube. I personally think that there were more future of the position type midfield signings on the market in the mould of a Mikel player. I don't think Mikel was ever going to pair a Rice and Ødegaard with an Eze or a Doué. I think that's too unbalanced for a man who loves duels and control as much as he does. I'm talking the more João Neves, Matt Swifer, Adam Wharton type signings. But the club maybe didn't want to do that, maybe didn't feel they represented value, maybe met them, weren't a fan, couldn't get it done, whatever it is. So, as I've said about the forward areas, if you can't find the future of the position, that doesn't mean you can't improve at all, and that's what we've done. If you can't have afternoon tea at the Ritz, you don't just starve. The player alone contributes a lot. We know about the duels, he releases quickly, he's good on the ball, he's available, good technical level, receives high in the left pocket well, which we don't have now. He's an experienced plug-and-play midfielder. We all know this isn't going to be our best player, but that's not the point of Merino. And I can get a little bit more excited thinking about the other aspects of this deal. Because I've been thinking, what does Mikel Merino's signing do for the rest of our squad? What more subtle impact can Merino have outside of his individual actions? What benefits can we expect to see around the player? And there, I'm excited. Against Aston Villa at home last season, I want you all to go and watch Declan Rice in that second half at the Emirates. We recently rewatched it for the Canon podcast, and there's a number of times where he's late to his marker simply because, I felt, he's just that couple of percentage off the pace physically and mentally. You know when a player is sharp, you just feel it, and he wasn't in that second half. And at points in the rest of the run-in, it's too far to say he was dead on his feet, but that Rice that we love, that charges through the midfield with those long strides, winning every duel in his path, wasn't quite there. And we definitely saw it at the Euros. Rice looking tired and lethargic at points in those grueling and pointless extra time periods. The Euros final was on the 14th of July, and the England players returned to Arsenal training on the 4th of August, only 21 days, or exactly 3 weeks, after. With all the preparation, the travelling, getting out of Germany, the things that would have been left to the off-season that he had to deal with, that's probably 2 proper weeks off. Rice played the 9th highest total of outfield minutes in the entire league last season and came second only to Bruno Guimaraes for midfielders overall. He played 838 minutes in the Champions League, the 4th highest at Arsenal behind the goalies and the centre-backs, and then played the most minutes of all the players in the competition at the Euros, tied with a few other England players. Oh, and he played in the Cups. Mikel will always maintain in public that he's looked in the players' eyes, he sees it, he feels it, they're fine. But come on. It's good media management not to create a story, but I don't care what field of work you're in, 2.5 weeks off a year isn't enough. Especially after living one of the most grueling seasons of any player in world football, chasing and losing titles in some of the most demanding sports leagues and competitions in the world. Ironically, in terms of career minutes, Merino and Rice are about the same despite being 3 years apart in age, which tells you everything you need to know about the scale of this. I think the signing of Merino reduces the physical and mental burden on Rice, and that is huge. I prefer Merino as an 8, but he can and has played as a 6, so will have the ability to change within games, between games, sub him on, move him around, and so on. And it's really useful. While I do hold some concerns about Merino's stamina, as I've watched him tire towards the end of certain Sociedad games, and want to note that though he was available for 35 matches last year, he didn't play the full 90 in 15, he is still going to ease the burden, with Partey and Jorginho unable to step forward in the same way into that left 8. In the same way that Xhaka returned for that 22-23 season in unbelievable shape, I think Mikel is going to start by demanding more physically from his namemate? Don't know. To give us that option to support Rice as well as play alongside him. This also extends to Thomas Partey and Jorginho to a lesser degree. I know this is a bit basic, but the benefits of this can't be overstated. A Declan Rice at 95%, not 60%, having managed his minutes in a cup fixture during the week, could be the difference between 3 points and 1. What does a fully firing Declan Rice do in that second half against Aston Villa last season? And what could that have meant in the context of the title race? And as we know, a Thomas Partey not being rushed back from a knock could be the difference between 1 week out and 45 weeks out. We haven't really had that flexibility up to now, with Jorginho a different type of option and El Neni not being at the quality level, but now we do. Secondly, we all know the dual capacity and the aerial dominance that he shows, but what impact could that actually have on those around him? Theoretically, there's now a number of top-level plays coming into this team. Like Sociedad did with him, we can go long to Merino from goal kicks high up the pitch. Put a second ball hoover like Rice close to him and Martinelli on the run in behind. You're not telling me there's not a goal or two in that over the season. Merino on the left, Havertz drifting out to the right. Raya is able to accurately go both sides consistently, as we've seen, from the back or a goal kick. Maybe before, teams have been able to pull numbers or a midfielder back to that side we're targeting to assist, but you can't do that on both sides. And how will you know where Raya is going if he keeps varying up the side he's going to with such great targets? Surely against less physically imposing fullbacks, maybe teams who play with wingbacks, this is worth a go over the course of the season and could be worth a few points. The ball to the back post. We've seen a lot more of this in the very early stages of this season, and again against Aston Villa. Stepping forward from that left 8 position, Merino attacking the back post to nod a ball back into the middle could work wonders for us in the less defended areas of the box. A lot of this is in the delivery, but a consistent dual winner at the back stick for a Trossard, a Martinelli, a Havertz in the 6-yard box, or even a Rice and Odegaard on the edge to smash one home is surely worth a goal or two over the course of the campaign as well. And of course, Merino can impact our set pieces. Scott Willis of Canon Stats wrote a great article which I'll link to in the description, essentially outlining that the set piece success we had in 23-24 was actually sustainable for a variety of reasons. One of the reasons outlined was that in some models, Arsenal only scored the amount of goals that was expected from corners. In other words, we're not massively overperforming on set plays, we're getting just rewards. So if we're not in over our heads and we're adding someone whose speciality comes in these areas of the pitch, maybe there's room to grow. Where Merino actually fits in the set pieces in Jova's head is yet to be seen, but the freedom that another box threat might give to a Saliba to wriggle free as he did against Lyon, for a Gabriel to make a run from the top of the box, for a Havertz to nod something on from the front post, as the other defenders are now more heavily occupied, is incredibly exciting. Not only can Merino chip in himself, he can also pump the numbers up for others. The meme of that goalkeeper putting it out for a corner because he didn't want to face a Rory Delap throw-in springs to mind, except hopefully they just put it in the back of their net. It's going to happen anyway, lads. Give us a goal. Go on. Set pieces, back post crossing, going long to the best dual winner in Europe, mixing up the distribution, balls in behind. How many extra goals could that be over the course of the season? And there's more. I think there's a big impact potential here on a player who needs more support, Gabriel Martinelli. If we can platform Martinelli correctly, although there is definitely a wider conversation about this post-Villa, who knows how many goals and assists that's worth to the team. Merino can and does rotate out wide in that Granit Xhaka type way with the strong foot overlaps, which can free up Martinelli to devastate in the box, inside in lane 4. Havertz can do that as a midfielder, but his best qualities come when he's allowed to roam, which disrupts Martinelli's rhythm. Rice goes more central and crashes the box when in the final third, and neither of them have that strong foot overlap. Merino can definitely replicate those dynamics of 22-23. I also want to note a great point made by Billy Carpenter on X about Martin Ødegaard making these inside runs, which Merino can replicate too, to create space out wide for the switch to Gabby. Link in the description. Merino's left-footedness also opens up a whole world for Gabby that wasn't there last year. If you look at some of those slip balls Ødegaard can play in behind when he's found himself in those spaces in the early season, you can see why Martinelli's runs are ripe for a left footer. While Merino doesn't quite have the execution or the vision of an Ødegaard, I think there's a few goals or big moments added simply by changing the angle of the pass from that zone, with the ball able to travel towards goal as opposed to away from it, like it would from a right footer in the left half space, like a Rice. One of my favourite qualities about Merino is that he keeps it really simple. In and out of his feet, short passes, 1-2, keep it ticking. He's not going to be a ball hog, and it means Martinelli can make those sharper movements inside, knowing Merino will find him early. He releases quickly and sharply, and his execution is good, if not top level. We know what Martinelli can be. So with Merino, Calafiori, Timber, and so on, with a couple of tweaks, this could be huge. Finally, I like this signing, but I bet Nwaneri, who clarified the pronunciation of his name this week, thank you, absolutely loves it. Arsenal could have spent big money on a midfielder this summer, and I think they should have, but that doesn't mean I can't see the benefits of not doing so. With Merino in and Vieira out on loan, Nwaneri's path remains open, with no huge £100 million De Jong level signing to try and upstage. They're different profiles at different stages of life, expected to do different things, and I'm sure Merino can teach Nwaneri a few things too. We all have big hopes for Nwaneri, and this sort of signing feels like it keeps a reasonable route to minutes alive, with a big show of faith in him, in my view, as Vieira leaves. Mikel has spoken in the past that he thinks a lot about academy players' integration. Too fast, you run the risk of overburdening them. Too slow, they can go off the boil. No midfield signing, especially in the context of no forward signing, if that's to be the case, please God no, would leave the shiny new toy crowd, don't look at me, with no choice, but to pin a lot of expectation on Nwaneri to deliver. He's still so young. He needs time to establish himself, to earn some confidence, get some rhythm, earn the trust of his teammates, without that massive pressure on his back. This sort of signing feels right in the sweet spot as Nwaneri exits his teens. Finally, we may, depending on what happens this week, have to make something make sense at the end of this window. And to a degree, with Merino, I suppose I am doing that. I'm making it make sense when I wanted something else. But I don't think that changes anything I've said in this video. Merino has a lot of benefits. In many, many ways, he fills holes and plugs gaps that we did have without being the earth-shattering name we all, or certainly I, wanted. Okay, it's not scones and clotted cream, but there's something to be excited about here. He's a safe bet. He will improve us. But I wonder whether some of the biggest benefits for Merino will come for those around him. If you like The Different Knock, you can support us on Patreon monthly, or you can buy us a coffee.